Thank you for being here, by the way. I hope you've had a chance to see Boston a little bit.
A little bit.
Great. I'm just curious, when you mentioned like The Hobbit and reading it a million years ago, were you a big reader as a kid and then drawing after that, or were you really just drawing and doodling right from the start and became an artist that way?
I've been a big reader, and you know, it's in every interview I've ever done that when I read Dracula at about age 13, I just went, ooh, that's it. Monsters, vampires, gothic stuff, that's my world. And I really have never changed my reading habits since. I mean, I have read, you know, stuff that doesn't have monsters and ghosts and stuff. But, you know, if you look at my bookshelf at home, it's entirely, you know, the catalog of great supernatural fiction. So that's kind of my thing.
Next question. And then I'm sorry.
We have the laziest microphone girl. No, it's good. It's fine. That's a minute. Yeah, it's good.
What's your question?
What are the odds of you doing a crossover with another comic book legend, Stan Lee?
0. I was offered the chance when Stan did those, Stan Lee creates the DC universe, I guess it was. I was asked if I would do one of those. And nothing against Stan, it's just, it's so much easier. The writer that I like working with is me because I don't ever write anything that I don't want to draw.
That's perfectly fine. A guy can hope. A guy can hope.
What's going on, or what was going on, with the Amazing Screw-On Head? Did you have to trash a lot of that material? Was there more storyline?
I didn't have to trash anything. The Amazing Screw-On Head, which was done as a pilot, I trashed a little bit of the original script, but the idea with that was to do a series. And it wasn't my idea. Somebody came to me and they wanted to do a series, and I said, fine. And to do a series, they felt it was necessary to explain a lot of stuff. Because The Amazing Screw-On Head features Abraham Lincoln, people can't, at least in Hollywood, can't get over the idea that it has to take place in between this year and this year. The book's nonsense. It's meant to be nonsense, but they can't wrap their brain around that. So, and all the characters had to have backstories and relationships and blah, blah, blah. And, you know, a couple things I said, no, please don't do this, please don't do this. But it was very clear that if they wanted to make a series, they felt they were going to need to do certain things. And I said, well, guys, good luck. This is what happens. They buy the rights to something, and you just go, well, if I wanted to maintain control, then I shouldn't have sold the rights. Of course, like everything, I figure they'll never make it. I'll just get option money and never have to live with the cartoon. But they made it. But the Science Fiction Channel, I think they looked at it and went, we don't know what this is. So nothing happened with it. Is there a possibility of somebody else doing a cartoon somewhere down the line? You know, sure, that's possible. What I have done, in a rare case of self-promotion, because The Amazing Screw-On Head is one of my favorite things I've ever done, and it only exists as a 30-some-odd page comic, I've been meaning for years to do new material to round, you know, to make it something that we could reprint as a book. So I didn't want to do new Screw-On Head stories because that story was exactly what it was meant to be. And I got it right the first time, which almost never happens. But I didn't want to do another Screw-On Head story for everybody till the end of time going, yeah, it wasn't as good as the first one. So, and I had no other ideas. So I did a bunch of stories related to it or with the same kind of feeling. One of the new stories I've done does feature one of the secondary characters from The Amazing Screw-On Head. But for the most part, it's just other odd little stories. Some funny, some kind of sad and funny. There's another story that I did with my daughter years ago that when she was 7, she made up this story, and I just thought it was the greatest thing. She won an Eisner at age 7 for it. It's the best thing I've ever done, I mean, I feel. And that thing also was 6 pages long. It had never been collected. So The Amazing Screw-On Head and this little story, The Magician and the Snake, became the center of this collection. So I added new material, and visually the stories all kind of relate to each other. But that'll be out in the fall. The Amazing Screw-On Head and Other Curious Objects.
Sure. Yeah, hi. I wonder if you could talk a little bit about your drawing background and how you developed the characters and you know, just sort of how you developed as an artist with your drawing and that kind of thing.
Is it possible that you could ask a broader question?
I know. Sorry.
No, it's fine. Like anybody, I mean, I've been influenced by a lot of different people. I desperately wanted to be Frank Frazetta when I was in high school. Took years to realize that he was much, much older and a freak, a legitimate freak. He's just insanely good. You're never going to be as good as him. Before the ulcers really cripple you at age 17, let go. You know, you're not going to be him. Then I discovered Bernie Wrightson. I went through it all over again. I got to be Bernie Wrightson. And then I went through a phase where I wanted to be a different guy like every 2 days. The beauty of that is, nowadays, people look at my stuff and they go, who are your influences? Because I'm influenced by so many different people, and like all the different bits and pieces of these guys are rattling around the back of your head, and when you sit down to draw, they kind of mush together. So, and then it's 25 years of doing this stuff professionally, and every time I do a job, it's getting a little bit better now, but for years, I hated everything I did. Except there'd always be this one little bit here. Well, that kind of works. And this kind of works. It's an evolution process. Every job you do, you kind of go, well, okay, most of it's crap, but this bit works, so we'll go a little bit more in that direction. So there's a trial and error thing that's, you know, got me where I am now. But, you know, the downside of this style of mine, as it developed, I was never cut out to be a superhero artist. And the fans recognized that. And so until I did Batman, most people were not that keen on my work. When I finally did Batman, they went, oh, okay, you know, the shadows and stuff, okay, Batman works. But please stay away from Captain America. Please stay away from Superman. Stop wrecking our guys. Batman will let you do. And, you know, the thing that changed everything was doing Hellboy. Because the beauty is, nobody else drew Hellboy before. So I drew Hellboy the way he was supposed to look. I don't know if that answered.
Very good.
If that answered 50% of your question, that's good enough for me.